the crypto market remaining juiced despite the dumpage in tech stocks after poor Q3 earnings. Evidence has suggested that the weak hands have all but been obliterated, leaving only the strongest of moon boys left. And while I absolutely do believe that Bitcoin will be battling and likely even visiting 20K and below again over the next few days and weeks, the biggest risk is not as bad as everyone believes it is. And now the biggest signal that we could have ever imagined is right in front of our faces. So sit down, unbutton your trousers, and think of Lady Gaga, because we are about to goo goo gaga all over these charts. Right now, the Bitcoin market is on the verge of something huge, and there are so many unbelievable critical things happening on the charts right now that will absolutely impact the price of Bitcoin this weekend and this coming week that we haven't seen for months, and some of them we've never seen before in history. And once you understand fully what they mean, it's going to change everything. So you guys on the channel, make sure to like, subscribe, turn those ghost notifications, and this is absolutely time-sensitive alerts. And without any further ado, let's just dive in to this content here. So as of today, Bitcoin did have a little bit of a dump earlier, and currently it's having a little bit more of a bounce as the stock market is also doing something similar here. But there are so many things going on first that I want to highlight before we jump into these charts more so. And the first obvious thing is that Twitter has been acquired by Elon Musk. And I'm sure many of you are already following this and you understand what's going on here. But two big things, right? Elon is a supporter of Bitcoin, and obviously he's a supporter of Dogecoin as well. That is to say, he's invested in crypto. So the richest man on the planet, who now owns Twitter, is a big crypto advocate. That in itself is huge. Not to mention, though, Binance is an equity investor in Elon's acquisition of Twitter. And so basically the ramifications, the effects of this, I think are very clear, right? The writing should be on the wall. And I would go as so far as to say, as I tweeted earlier, I think at this point, it is a bigger risk to not be exposed, to not be invested into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency than ever before. And I think it's a bigger risk to not be invested than it is to be invested, especially considering we are at the bottom of a bear market or very close to the bottom of a bear market. Nobody knows exactly if this is the bottom, but if it is not the bottom, we're at least close, right? Nobody is going to argue that buying Bitcoin at 69,000 is smarter than buying it here. This would be a better place to invest objectively if you believe that Bitcoin is going to go up a lot in the future, which I believe, and which everybody watching this video believes. And if you don't believe that, why are you watching this video? Go give your mom a kiss on the lips and tell her you love her instead if you don't like Bitcoin and you're watching this video. And as well, so right now, Bitcoin, there is a risk of it going below 20K. And as I said 2 days ago, when we first got above 20K for the first time in weeks, I still think it's very likely we're going to see sub 20K as this move progresses. I don't think we're going to be at 25,000 and 30,000 by next week. I do think that is very likely. We're heading there in a relief. But guys, the market is very volatile. Tomorrow we could be below 20,000, and then the next day we could be at 22,000. So there's literally 0 point in saying Bitcoin will never go below 20K again. It's very likely that it will. And one of these risks is that miners are, MINERS, the Bitcoin miners, are at a risk here. And it's been something that's kind of been going on for a while, that miners are not very profitable. They have liquidity problems. There's concerns over the hash rate continuing to go up and how profitable that can be. And basically, to sum it up, that's a risk that we could have a short-term move to the downside because of that. And basically, it would be very healthy for it would be good for the miners if the price finally started going up so they could be more profitable here, because there are mining firms that are literally operating at a loss, that are like not making profit because of Bitcoin's current price. So that is one thing we have to watch. And again, before we get into the charts, this is something big as well. So yesterday's Q3 tech results were not very good. The earnings were pretty poor. Meta dropped like insane amounts. Amazon didn't do great. There was a lot, right? We saw a lot of these tech stocks not really performing that well. We saw the stock market drop a little bit, and Bitcoin didn't even go below 20K at this point. And as of today, it's basically at the price it was 2 days ago. And so what that indicates very likely is something we already pretty much know, is that a lot or if not all of the weak hands are gone. The people that are holding on to Bitcoin right now, the people that are investing and invested in crypto right now, are people that are not going to go away. You know, let's say Bitcoin goes to 10K. I'm not going anywhere, right? I'll be taking that opportunity to try and buy as much as I can. And I'm sure many of you will as well. So the weak hands are not really to be seen. They've been shaken out. If you would go back a year ago and say, were the weak hands shaken out yet when Bitcoin was right at 69K? You would say, of course not. That's silly. Bitcoin's at all-time highs. 69K, nice. But now we fast forward a year later after a very dumpy last 12 months. I think a lot of people would say that, yeah, I think a lot of people have been shaken out of this market. I think the market has been shaken up a lot. We are now below the highs, basically, or we're right at the highs of 2017, which has never happened before in terms of like revisiting a previous all-time high. So yes, it's gotten very dumpy. A lot of people have gotten shaken out. Again, at this point, the risk now is not to the downside. The risk, the bias is more so that there's a lot more pressure to the upside now than there is to the downside. Obviously, Bitcoin could still go to 10K. Even if a short-term move like that did happen, we have to understand the risk and rewards. And I personally think it's overwhelmingly going to be more upside in the future than there is going to be further downside after experiencing all of this downside. So if we take a look with Bitcoin here, one thing we are doing is on the weekly chart, we are right now testing the 21-week moving average, which by many accounts is kind of like the main momentum indicator to dictate whether or not we're in a bullish or bearish trend. And right now we're testing it for the very first time since March of 2022. And we know what happened after we got rejected there. 48,000 down pretty much straight, took an elevator to 18K, which is still our low, or roughly about like 17.6 is our low. 17,567 according to this Coinbase weekly chart. And like literally once we got rejected off of this last time, right here, okay, we got rejected right here. What happened immediately after this rejection? Complete dumpage down. And now we're testing this moving average for the very first time since then. Okay, this is a long time coming. Now, if this breaks, that could have huge implications if it breaks to the upside. Absolutely, I think we'll be seeing 30K plus Bitcoin very soon if we can get a concrete break above this and ultimately hold 20K over the next week or two. That's huge. Not to mention the stock market as well is right now breaking above its very critical 50 day moving average. If we take a look at the SPX's weekly chart, however, we're doing the same thing that Bitcoin's doing, testing the 21-week moving average. We're right there. So we can't get bullish just yet, but this is exactly the move that we need to be watching, because if it does peek its head above there and probably teeter-totter a little bit around that range until ultimately maybe breaking up, then that could not be more bullish. So the setup is there. We have to wait for the follow-through. We have the perfect setup right now. This could get very bullish at any second. It has not happened yet, so don't get too excited yet, but it could happen literally any moment. So that's what's exciting about this, is it could be literally moments away. And as well, the DXY, after setting a new low from its low back at October 4th, just 2 days ago, here we are now facing potentially one of its biggest rejections around 112, 111 if it gets up there. And if that does, again, the writing is on the wall. Two things could happen here. What we could see is just a fake out and we end up going back to this level here, unlike what we've done before. Or we do what we have done before and come in, at the very least, revisit the bottom of this ascending broadening wedgie here, bring us down to about 109-ish. And if that doesn't hold, then this absolutely will signal a massive trend shift. So we have a lot of things working on our side here. And there have been a lot of fake outs over the last couple of months. There have been a lot of dumpiness and a lot of sideways. And now we finally have a setup that could yield amazing results in terms of short-term trader profit, in terms of really boosting this market back into equilibrium. Because as many of you probably would agree, and as facts agree, this market is very oversold right now. Is the market oversold? Let's take a look at the weekly RSI for Bitcoin. Well, it's exactly where it was, again, back at the very bottom of the last bear market. So, yes, the market's very oversold. It's been dumped into, cleaned up, and then dumped into again, and then cleaned up and dumped into it. It's massive dumpiness for a very long time now. So an upside move of at least $5,000 to $10,000 on Bitcoin price, and then 10, 20, 30% in the entire crypto market cap percentage-wise gains to the upside is completely in the cards. It's very possible. But as I've been saying, it's going to take a few different things. And if we look on all these charts, we're right now, right there. Could we get rejected over the next week and maybe go above it the next week? Absolutely. Could it just happen within a day or two? Absolutely. Could we face this big rejection? Yes, it's very possible. but we have to be aware of the possible rewards that we could see in the very short term if we get a concrete break above some of these levels. And specifically, if the DXY, after setting this most recent lower low, is able to continue climbing. And actually, if we, the last thing I want to look at here is if we take a look at the DXY, has it set a lower low before during these moves? So this consolidation, we go up. This was not a lower low, so that was a higher low there. This looks like some higher lows. We got a lower low here as it did touch on this trend line. So we have not done that yet. So that's interesting to note. But there is a lot of evidence that this parabola of the DXY exploding has come to an end for the very first time in multiple years, which is just very promising for the prospects of a very soon future pump for Bitcoin. So you get a new channel, make sure to subscribe, turn those ghost notifications on. This is absolutely time-sensitive alerts. Take advantage of over $16,000 in deposit bonuses below. Get 15 free USDT by putting in an email and creating a password in the description below for BitGet. Takes 30 seconds to do. And without any further ado, that's it for me.